Hey, welcome back to another chapter. This is Vedat from Programmership. In this chapter, we're gonna talk about how to support multi-language in our iOS app. It doesn't matter what your device system language is because we're going to isolate the language logic within our app. If you are ready, let's start. Here we have a brand new project. It is completely empty. Inside the main.storyboard, I will add two buttons and a label. Let's add them. Here I will use a field button and also let me add another one. At the top of them I will add a label like so. So let me make them a little bit bigger. Also I will center the label text and let's increase this font size a little bit. It's alright. For the button, let me make it a little bigger. Also I will change the name of the first button as Turkish. For the other button I will say English. So as you may guess, we will support two different languages in our app, Turkish and English. Now let's create the outlets of this label and the actions of these buttons. To do that, I will split the screen and open the view controller on the other side. Let's split the screen and open view controller. So to create an outlet, select your label and press Ctrl key in your keyboard and start to drag from your label to the top of the view load and drop it. Here I will name it as test label. Hit enter. Also, let's do the same thing for creating actions for the buttons. Select Turkish, press Ctrl, drag and drop it at the bottom of the VD load. For this, I will say Turkish button tapped, hit enter, and also let's create another action for English. I will say English button tapped, hit enter. Well, we will use localization to support multi-language in our project. Our first step will be adding language information that we are gonna be supporting in the project. To do that, click at the root of the project and select the project level. Here we can see localization option. In default, there's only English language. We will add another language, which is Turkish. Hit plus icon and select your language. In this window, I will uncheck the launch screen because I don't need it and leave the main.storyboard as checked. Hit finish and we can see the new language as added. In the next step, we will create string files for each language that we are gonna be supporting. In the project folder, right click and let's say new file. Here I will search for strings file. Select this and I will leave the name as it is. Hit create. This will be our base string file. Now we will localize this file. To do that, select the localizable file and at the top right, open the inspector window. In this window, let's switch to the file inspector. Here we can see the localize button under the localization title. Hit this button and leave the selected language as it is because we are gonna add the other language as well. Let's say localize. Here under the localization title, we can see the English is added. Also, let's check the Turkish to add it, just like that. Now, when we look at our base localizable file, we can see the languages that we just added. In these string files, we will add key value pairs for each string that we will support in multi-language. Let me show you what I mean. First, open the English localizable file and add a key value pair. Let me delete this. For the key parameter, I will say message in string format is equal to the value of message. I can say hello world. And please do not forget to add semicolon at the end of the value, like that. And we are done with the English. Let me copy this line and paste it in Turkish. And for the value, I will use the translation of hello world in Turkish, just like that. Let me close these files. And now it is time to use this key value pair in our code. To be able to access the key value pairs within the code, we can use a function called NSLocalizedString. We will pass the key string to this function and get back its value. In default, the function will look at device system language and return the value of specified key according to that language. If the system language is Turkish, then it will look at the Turkish localizable file. Otherwise, the English localizable file will be used because it is defined as the default language. At first, we will see how NSLocalizedString uses system language by default, and later we will isolate the language logic within the app instead of device system language, just as we promised at the beginning of the video. Let's get back to the view controller file. Here I will create an extension of string type and add a function inside for using localization. Here I will say extension string, and inside I will say func translated. You can use whatever you want. It will return return back a string like so. Inside the translated function, let's basically return an as localized string. Here, the first parameter will be the key value, which is the self, and we can leave the command as empty. In the view controller class, I will add a function to keep everything organized. In this function, I will set the value of the label. Let's say private func refresh language, and inside the function, I will say tests label.text is equal to what was our key. It was the message dot translated, just like that. Now let's call this function in the view did appear function. Let's say view did appear. I will call super.view did appear and pass the animated parameter. In the next line, I will say refresh language. I think we can give it a run and see what we have. Let's hit run. We can see hello world because our device system language is English. Let's change simulator device language to Turkish and rerun the app again. Hit your project name at the left of the simulator list, and here we have an edit scheme. Select this. In the run section, we have option tag, and here we have app language. By default, it uses system language, and I will change it to Turkish. Hit close. Now let's rerun the app again. And this time we can see the Turkish version of Hello World. Alright, the question is how we can choose a specific localizable file manually regardless of device system language. In the NSLocalized string function that we just used, there is a parameter called bundle. If we can get the bundle of a specific localizable file, then we can get this function to look directly at that file instead of device system language. To get the bundle of these localizable files, we need to get their paths. We can get the paths of these files by their name and extensions. Stop the simulator, go to the project source codes in Finder and see what we have there. I created this project in desktop. Let me open the source code. Click the project and also the folder. Here we can see some folders with the lproj extension. In the enlproj folder, we can see the localizable string for English, and in the trlproj folder, we can see the localizable string file for Turkish. We will use these folder names and extensions to get the path, and then we will create a bundle instance through these paths. This is our plan. Let's get back to the Xcode. I think it is also better to save user language selection in the user defaults. I will create a constant and a variable for this. Let's say let's localize user default key, and I can just copy the constant name and paste it over here. Also, let's say var localize default language is equal to, I will say en for default. This guy will keep the key value of the user defaults, and the variable will keep the selected language string. Good. Now let's remove the code in the translated function. And here I will remove this for now. First, we will get the path of those lproj files. To do that, we will use the path function of the bundle class. This function returns an optional string, so it is also better to unwrap it. I will start by writing if let path is equal to bundle.main.path. For resource, I will use localize default language, and for the type, I will say lproj, which we just saw in the source code. Here, let's also create our bundle instance. Bundle is equal to bundle, and for the path, I will pass our path constant. Here inside the if statement, I will return the ns localized string. For the key, again, I will use self. For the command, I will pass an empty string. And here in the middle, I will use bundle and pass the bundle constant. Also, let me return an empty string if something goes wrong. Bear with me, guys. We are almost done. Now, the last step we must do is updating the value of the variable that we just created in button actions. I will also update user defaults as well. Hence, when we rerun the app, our selection will be kept saved. Inside the Turkish button tab, let's say localize default language is equal to tr, and user defaults dot standard dot set value. We will pass this variable for the value, and for the key, I will say localize user default key, like that. After that, we will call the refresh language function. Let me copy these lines and paste it in the English button. Here I will say en, and We are almost done. Last thing we can do is updating localized default language variable in the viewDidLoad function according to the value that we saved in user defaults. Here in the viewDidLoad, I will say localize default language is equal to user defaults dot standard dot string. For the key, I will just copy localize user default key and paste it over here. Because it returns an optional, I will define en for the default value. Now it's time to run our app. Let me run it. So in default, we can see the language is English. Let me hit Turkish and we can see the translated version. Let's hit English again. It says hello world. Let's select the Turkish and I will stop the simulator and rerun again to see if our selection is saved. Let's run it again. And it is Turkish. It works. Alright, that's it for this video. I will share the source code in my GitHub account. You will see the link down in the description. I hope this chapter was useful for you as well. You can subscribe to our channel if you like. This is the best way of supporting me. Thanks in advance. See you in the next one. Goodbye.